Guys, I'm going to share about the backslider in heart, according to Proverbs chapter 14, verse 14. The backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. Now, I'd like to share uh, 4 points with regards to this matter, with regards to this topic. And first of all, is what is meant by backslider in heart. And secondly, is what are the reasons for backsliding? And third is, okay, what is the effect of backsliding? And fourth is how to prevent from backsliding. Okay, so what is meant by backslider in heart? Backslider in heart. So what does it mean? So a backslider is one who goes back to his old sinful ways instead of moving forward to spiritual growth. So according to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12, go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return thou backsliding Israel, said the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, said the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12. Now, the Bible tells us about the backsliding Israel, and the Lord got angry with them, and they were told to return, and they were called backsliding Israel. And God wants them to return to Him. So they are going to their sinful way instead of moving forward to serving God. And another way is you're backsliding, even though you are serving, uh, you are being religious, and yet when you fail to honor the Lord, you are backsliding. So a verse says in Hosea chapter 11, verse 7, and my people are bent to backsliding from me, though they called them to the Most High, none at all would exalt him. So there are people claiming to be Christians and who are serving, and yet they do not want to honor the Lord, or they fail to honor the Lord. Even some carnal Christians, this happened to even carnal Christians. Now, another way is thinking of not serving God and living according to your fleshly desires. So you are already thinking that you will not serve God, and instead you want to follow your fleshly desires. And according to the verse in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 15, and truly, if they had been mindful of the country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. Now, with regards to Israel, they keep on complaining. And according to Numbers chapter 11, verse 20, but even a whole month until it come out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have despised the Lord which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? So they were thinking of going back, and they regret that they came out of Egypt, and uh, they were thinking of going back instead of moving forward. So they were backsliding. They have their desires, which is not according to God. And according to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 22, this could happen to any person or any Christian serving. That there are cases when he would go back to his old sinful ways, and he is backsliding, And according to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 22, but it is happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the soul that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. So, what are the reasons for backsliding? One is selfish desires, desires that are not in line with God's will. And according to James chapter 4, verse 2 to 3, you lust and have not, you kill and desire to have and cannot obtain, you fight and war, yet you have not because you ask not. You ask and receive not because you ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lust. Now, one of the reasons why Christians cannot receive an answer to their prayers or cannot have their desires because they have wrong motives and they keep on praying and the Lord would not grant their desires. But there are cases when seemingly the desires were granted, but eventually there are a lot of problems in it and he will not be satisfied. When you have what you desire, you are not satisfied because God allowed circumstances, problems in it because of wrong desires, wrong motives. According to Numbers chapter 11, verse 5 to 6, we remember the feast which we did in Egypt. Really, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic, but now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. There are cases that as you serve the Lord, you would be bored and you just want to go back to your old ways, or you are tempted to do wrong, to do those sinful things. But eventually you will not be satisfied with those things that you desire, because there is no satisfaction apart from God. Only God can give you real satisfaction. So when you have your desire, you will not be satisfied. That's why it says here, ye have not because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lust. So some people would do backslide because, or some Christians, because the reason is their selfish desires. And another reason for backsliding is deceitful heart. They are following their feelings instead of seeking the truth. Now, according to the verse in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So if you follow your feelings, remember that the heart is deceitful. And another verse is in Proverbs chapter 28, verse 26. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. So one who follows his own heart is a fool. And then in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 14, the backslider in heart, that means it always starts from the heart. Backsliding is having the wrong desires. So according to the verse, the backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. So this is a contrast between the result of what you desire, because a good man shall be satisfied from himself, but the backslider shall be filled with his own ways. Now this is talking about the consequence, the difficulty, the hardship of backsliding. Another reason for backsliding is influence of the ungodly. Uh, in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5 to 6, we are told that thus said the Lord, cursed be the man that trusted in man, maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departed from the Lord. So when you trust in man more than God, the tendency is that your heart will depart from the Lord. And according to verse 6, for he shall be like the hill in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. So this speaks of the result of trusting in man it will result to isolation and loneliness. You will not be a blessing, but you will not be able to see good, shall not see when good cometh, but you will inhabit the parts places. That means uh, places that are not inhabited. That means loneliness, isolation, problems. You will be hard. You feel that nobody loves you. You will not be a blessing to many people. That's why in Proverbs, in Psalm 118, verse 8, it says, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. Now, another verse in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 6, let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. And we are warned to not to allow any person to deceive us. And Proverbs chapter 14, verse 7, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. And also in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 15, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. So the simple refers to the average person, ordinary or simple. That means he is not really wise. He is not wise. And there is a verse that the simple inherit folly. So we have to be careful that we will not be influenced by ungodly principles. So what is the effect of backsliding? Sorrow in heart due to many problems. And according to the verse, even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful. And the end of that mirth is heaviness. So after party, after enjoying the pleasures of this world, the result is heaviness, sorrow. The heart is sorrowful. And also another verse is the result of backsliding is you will have more troubles, because it says in Proverbs 14, verse 11, the house of the wicked shall be overthrown, but the tabernacle of the upright shall flourish. And another verse is in verse 14, chapter 14. The backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. So this speaks of the consequences of backsliding. So it leads to more sins and complicated problems. So in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 22, it says here, do they not hear that devise evil? But mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good. Another verse is Proverbs 14, verse 12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 32, the wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous hath hope in his death. So what drives the wicked away from the Lord? It is his wickedness. And there will be poverty and shame, according to Proverbs chapter 13, verse 18. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. Also in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 15, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard. So at the end, the result of backsliding you will have hard life, because the way of transgressors is hard. And how can we avoid or prevent ourselves from backsliding? So first of all is you have to love instruction. You have to love knowledge. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Was the loveth instruction, loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. So you have to love instruction, you have to love knowledge, and also you have to guard your heart, because we know that the heart is deceitful. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, says here, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. And be humble, because in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2, when pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. Also, do not be wise in your own eyes, but you have to listen to good advices. Good advice. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. And in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So you have to seek good advice, counsel from godly men. And in verse Psalms chapter 1, verse 1 to 2 says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So you have to meditate always, day and night. And you have to trust the Lord with all your heart. And according to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So that's the point of the message. May God bless his word.